Government for the week ending Friday, March 8th, the last day of the legislative session. I'm Rebecca Baer. This afternoon, the 2024 legislative session adjourned sine die. It took some coordination, but gavels in the House and Senate fell almost simultaneously.
Representative Perez moves that the House adjourn sine die. All in favor say yay. Yay! Opposed no. Show the motion approved. The House is adjourned sine die.
I move that the Senate adjourn sine die.
Without objection, the Senate is now adjourned sine die.
After that, they all trooped into the hallway between chambers for the traditional sine die hanky drop. It started decades ago in the old Capitol when House and Senate leaders couldn't talk to or see each other down the hallways. The Speaker and President then celebrated with the governor in the cabinet room.
As governor, sometimes I get a lot of the attention, but the reality is this is a team sport, and you got to work together with both the executive and the legislative branch. And we've been very productive with all the legislative leaders that we've had since I've been governor. We're proud of the output that we've done, but I think these 2 years take the cake in terms of what we've been able to accomplish.
During the 60-day session, almost 2,000 bills were filed. At least 325 made it through both chambers. And as always, the governor has the final say with the power to approve, veto, or let a bill become law without signing it. Out of all those bills, the only one lawmakers are required to pass is the one that creates a state budget. And on day 60, the House and Senate gave it almost unanimous approval. At the end of the day, budget chairs say the nearly $117.5 billion spending plan puts Florida in a good position.
I believe this budget makes a meaningful investment in our state and leaves ample reserves for the future.
These forward-looking approaches will ensure Florida has a strong financial look in years to come.
Among the highlights, the budget includes a pay raise for state employees. In education, there's more money for teacher salaries and an increase in per-student funding. In health care, higher rates for Medicaid providers. There's $100 million recurring to fix crumbling prisons, and money to provide services to more people with disabilities. A program to help Floridians harden their homes in an effort to reduce insurance costs gets a $200 million boost. And the budget continues to fund Everglades restoration and clean water initiatives. Overall, senators praise the bill.
So I applaud you. I think you've presented with us about a budget that not only is balanced, as we have to do by Constitution, of course, but one that's fair and honors every member in this Senate.
But I stand before you today and say I'm personally feeling good about this budget.
But over in the House, some Democrats said they were disappointed.
Is what do we have to do to be a part of this budget process? What do we have to do?
They said the budget funds far fewer local projects requested by Democrats than Republicans.
We come up here to make a difference. We come up here to take money back home for our districts. But somehow, and this is going to sound ugly, this is like a scavenger hunt. We've been promised prizes if we look in all the silos. But when we look in the silos, there are no prizes.
Our conversations have been robust. We have a lot of debate. There's a lot of questions. And I feel pretty comfortable that all of the members on our subcommittee had opportunity to provide input and to participate in those discussions.
The House Democratic leader also weighed in.
Well, there was a lot of unfairness in the budget, if I'm honest. So Florida Democrats in the House make up just under a third, yet we only received roughly 5.9% of the projects that were funded, and that's not okay because we represent roughly a third of the people of Florida. That's millions of people.
But Chair Tom Leek refuted those arguments. He said 83% of project requests were funded, and 13 Democrats received funding for all their requested projects.
Now, they may not be funded at the amount that was requested, but the people of Florida require us to balance our budget. While projects are important, they represent just 2% of the overall budget this year. I would argue that instead of complaining about how 2% of the budget is allocated, we should focus on what the other 98% of the budget does.
A provision regarding gas-powered leaf blowers drew debate in both the House and Senate. The budget authorizes a study on them and in the meantime prevents cities and counties from banning them.
explain to your colleagues why this is just a situation or an issue that just wasn't successful in committee or during the vetted, deliberate legislative process, and now you're slapping policy onto an appropriations bill. How is that not cheating by just throwing on some fiscal to it?
We need better information with regard to what these decisions are. And so without better information, we don't know if that's a good idea.
The budget now goes to the governor, who has line item veto power. Last year, he trimmed $500 million from the budget. In the final hours of session, lawmakers passed a $915 million tax relief package.
You've heard the old adage that on April 15th, normally they say that the tax man cometh. Well, today on March the 8th, 2024, the tax man giveth.
The largest chunk of that tax relief is a one-year tax cut of $500 million tied to property insurance. The Senate bill sponsor says that will amount to an average savings of $60 per homeowner, with an additional $15 for those with flood insurance. The amount of that tax relief will depend on the value of each home. The sponsor praised the Senate president for including a shift to put more money toward cancer research.
She considered it, she expanded it. There is $30 million additional recurring money in this tax package to help fight cancer and for cancer research. And that is a big deal.
The final tax package, House Bill 7073, has 5 sales tax holidays, including 2 hurricane preparedness tax holidays at the beginning of June and in late August. A back-to-school tax holiday is on the list, also a tax holiday on tools, and in July there's a tax holiday on recreational items and tickets. A related bill also has more than $400 million in toll road relief. The presiding officers each had their own priorities. For President Passidomo, that was health care.
Access to health care is important at every phase of life. Insurance does not guarantee access, as even Floridians with great insurance face barriers to care.
This week, lawmakers passed the final components of her Live Healthy agenda. Key legislation approved in February aims to increase the healthcare workforce with more opportunities for education and clinical training. Another bill will fund new innovative ideas to improve healthcare. Bills passed this week designate a new type of teaching hospital for mental health, expand services for people with disabilities, and increase price transparency. The House, Senate, and Governor's office worked out their differences on a social media ban for children. Lawmakers passed a bill prohibiting children under 14 from having an account. 14 and 15-year-olds would have to get parental consent. Capitol Update's Mike LaQuia takes a closer look.
House Bill 3 originally wasn't supposed to be the social media bill, but after the governor vetoed House Bill 1, this bill became the vehicle to move forward a social media ban compromise. It started off as a bill to require age verification for access to pornography to ensure minors do not look at it. That remains in the bill, but also includes the social media limitations.
I am tired of seeing stories about children who are dying because of what's happening on social media. If that is not enough for you to act, I don't know what is.
The bill defines social media as having 4 criteria. Users can upload content and view content from others. Platform algorithms select content that is viewed by users. Of the users who are under 16, 10% spend at least 2 hours a day on the platform, and the platform has at least one addictive feature. Supporters say the bill targets addictive features rather than content, which they say would help it survive a court challenge.
The goal is really to get the addictive features in front of a court and have the court look at the way in which this content is being manipulated in order to rewire the brains of our children.
This bill isn't about First Amendment rights. This bill isn't about parental rights. This bill is about the primary role that any government has to keep their people safe.
The harm that it is causing our children is documented, and it is severe. Addictive design features manipulate the way our children think, how they learn, how they form relationships. These companies know it, and they have done nothing to correct it.
The bill defines addictive features as having infinite scrolling, push notifications, live streaming, and video autoplay. The bill requires age verification for pornography access and to hold a social media account, but it does not prescribe how that verification should be done. Lawyers for social media companies say courts around the country have been shooting down social media bans as unconstitutional based on the age verification requirement.
I think that it's government overreach. We're starting really to try to teach people how to be parents, which we shouldn't do.
I still think it's a little random. Only parental consent for 14 and 15-year-olds. It's just so narrow.
Why don't we go after the algorithms instead, directly, expose them, so we can see what these companies are doing, not just to kids, but also to adults.
The bill passed 30-5 in the Senate, 109-4 in the House.
I don't know if this is the best bill, right? Like, I don't know if this is going to be the fix-all. And I'm okay that it may or may not be. But what I'm asking us to do is act. I'm asking us to act. I'm asking us to make a decision.
Social media companies or pornography sites that knowingly allow access to children could face $50,000 fines for each violation. For Capitol Update, I'm Mike Laquia.
Throughout session, the House and Senate have gone back and forth on the wages and working conditions bill that continued today until the last minute. The original proposal banned local governments from requiring its contractors to pay higher wages or take extra steps to protect workers in the Florida heat. The Senate removed the wages part. Yesterday, the House put it back in. Today, the Senate went along with it with some of its own changes.
Is there anything that would preclude Miami-Dade County, Broward County, Palm Beach County from going with XYZ even at a higher labor cost because they philosophically, ideologically, or by popular belief, believe that they should award a contract, even if it's slightly more expensive, to the company that seems to be more socially responsible, perhaps, by paying their employees more and offering health benefits, than going with the lower bid?
There is nothing in this amendment or underlying bill that would prohibit a local government from choosing one vendor over another based on the will of that commission. If the bill does explicitly say that you cannot have an ordinance that details some of those same things.
The Senate also kept a provision that doesn't allow local governments to require contractors to have work schedules that let workers know in advance when they'll be needed. That raised questions when the bill got back to the House.
But how does predictive scheduling save taxpayer dollars?
It's allowing businesses to be able to do business.
You're welcome for a follow-up. Sure, Representative Bartleman.
How?
Representative Esposito.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When companies have scheduling changes, if they can't make changes within a 2-week time frame or sometimes even more, it doesn't allow them to run their business and staff appropriately.
The final House vote Friday afternoon was 74 to 36. The bill goes to the governor. A bill that would allow teenagers to work longer and later hours is heading to the governor after some last-minute changes. The House removed provisions addressing the preemption of heat regulations that were contained in the other bill. House Bill 49 will still allow 16 and 17-year-olds to work more than 30 hours a week with parents' permission. It would also allow homeschool students and those attending virtual school to work unlimited hours. The sponsors said the measure was supported by business groups, including the restaurant and lodging industry. Opponents are concerned it could lead to kids being exploited. The governor will be getting a bill that bans certain ideas from college courses that teach teachers how to teach, including theories that systemic racism, sexism, oppression, and white privilege are inherent in American institutions. The final debate got loud. Capitol Update's Melissa Klinzing reports.
Senator Chevron Jones asked the bill's sponsor to list some of the teacher training course materials he found objectionable.
Critical race theory in education, All God's Children Got a Song, white girl teaching, anti-racist education from theory to practice, white privilege, unpacking the invisible knapsack. How does any of that increase NAEP scores? How does any of that increase graduation rates?
Senator Blaise Ingoglia acknowledged that some of the material is optional and it's used in only some teacher training courses in Florida. Senator Jones asked which ones. Ingoglia said he had them listed in a binder.
Quite frankly, I made a promise to you in appropriations that I would bring the binder down to session. This binder has been on my desk every day for 2 weeks.
I never got the binder. We're here today, so you're about to get all of these questions right here.
Half an hour later, another senator weighed in.
Can I please see the binder? that you said you've had for 2 weeks. I didn't know you had a binder. I would love to see it. I'm a quick read.
Senator Golia?
Thank you, Madam President. I said, sure. I mean, I want it here when we're asking questions.
Senator Pizzo then walked over to Ngolia's desk. We don't know what they said to each other, but the Senate president asked them to go to a back room to look at the binder and tried to move on to another bill.
An act relating to traffic enforcement.
Senators, all right, let the senators.
Eventually, questions and debate continued.
Do you think that you and I have equal opportunity?
Senator Golia.
Thank you, Madam President. No, you are much nicer, much smarter, much sweeter than I am.
When I asked Senator Ngolia if he believed that he and I had the same opportunity, his response had to do with ability and personal characteristics. So no matter what the ability is or the personal characteristic is, the opportunity is different. And we keep denying that.
We came to the back. These are your black members who sit in this chamber. Do you all think that we actually was just huddling for our health? No. It's the spirit in what this does to what Senator Powell made mention of, the black members who reside in this chamber with you.
Senator Jones said that when they did look at the information in the binder, they found some of it was 14 years old and some elective, but agreed that teacher training courses should be reviewed. The sponsor said it's all about teaching with empathy, not blame.
This is about how teachers are taught to teach, not the content, what they're teaching. And that is important. That is an important distinction that I want to leave you with.
The final vote was split along party lines 28-12. The governor will have